everybody, I'm James Gunn. Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. The first project is Creature Commandos.
All right, my Creature Commandos of the DCU, fall in line and let us review DC Showcase Sergeant Rock.
Creature Commandos is an animated series. Something we're going to do that's a little bit different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action.
So today we return with 2019's DC Showcase short, Sergeant Rock, which was included with the release of Eli's favorite Batman movie, the 2019 feature Batman Hush.
What a delightful film.
Please let us know in the comments below what you thought of Sergeant Rock or any other questions and comments on DC Showcase shorts. If you're new here at the channel, please consider subscribing on YouTube. Click that notification bell. All right, my Creature Commandos of the DCU, fall in line and let us review DC Showcase Sergeant Rock. Just after recovering from losing his entire unit in battle, Sergeant Rock leads a special army of commandos against a Nazi secret research base. So the short is directed by Bruce Timm himself, written by Walter and Louise Simonson, the famous DC writing couple, as well as Tim Sheridan. Sergeant Rock perfectly cast Carl Urban of The Boys, Creature Commandos. Eli, you're going to love this fun fact. 1980, created by your boy, J.M. DeMatteis.
No kidding.
So the Creature Commandos, interestingly, again, not originally led by Rock, though another human military sergeant led the team. His name was Sergeant Shreve, not to be confused with Walter Shreve of Batman Beyond, different spelling. But in the research, it was funny. I found nothing on Rock ever leading the team. And to be clear, Creature Commandos are the guys we meet in kind of the second half of this movie, which again, it starts off as a war movie, but then you get this Universal Monsters crew of a vampire, Frankenstein's monster, and a werewolf. They were used in World War II missions in DC Comics, and they were typically led by a human character of Shreve. Is also in this movie though. So what this movie did, so he loses in the beginning of the movie, he loses his whole unit, but then right away, as with a lot of war movies, these dudes have no time to grieve, and they're like, next mission of killing a bunch of people. And the next mission is Lieutenant Shreve giving him this information. So that character, interestingly, goes back to Creature Commandos, back to 1980. And what Bruce Timm and company seem to have done with this short is melded together Creature Commandos and Sergeant Rock. But it makes total sense because they're both World War II heroes.
Do you have a favorite out of
Creature Commandos? I think it's the Frankenstein guy, because his action move of, now we're over the spoiler watch, the move he does 3 times of just grabbing someone by the neck and squeezing it.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, good night.
I liked him too. And I like him because there's just something about seeing like a Frankenstein character animated, you know, in like a 60s style. It's just very classic horror.
The way that they tied in this whole Creature Commando kind of background that we hadn't gotten before with what the Nazis are doing. So, which is like a classic World War II story trope, is just taking something that the Americans have already done or some powerful technology, and it's what if the Nazis got their hands on this? So it's what if the Nazis were able to make Creature Commandos as well, make these supernatural, essentially universal monsters as war heroes, as a war team, but now they have their whole crew of evil Nazi versions of that. And it's just so much damn fun. Nazi Frankenstein.
And you gotta love the poetry in it. I've always seen the classic Universal monsters as scary because they reflect different parts of humanity, you know, and man. Like, so, you know, the werewolf represents the more bestial side of man, the more primitive side of man. The Frankenstein kind of represents like a perversion of man, or, you know, like the way we create things and try to, and, you know, vampires are kind of the more lustful side. And it's interesting because they all team up in this one team, and amongst all of these creatures that you would call monsters, the real monsters are obviously the Nazis. So there's just some like interesting poetry in that, in my opinion.
Well done, sir.
My favorite out of all the crew though is the vampire. I like vampires. They're probably my favorite archetypical monster, you know.
But then seeing like the horror side of the action, getting that kind of same cinematic war action applied to, again, these universal monsters was really sick. Like, it was much more grown up than you would get in the DCAU or anything Bruce Timm, and that was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, no, I couldn't agree more.
Like if you saw this as a 12-year-old, you'd be like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And it's super low risk, if not no risk. You know, if you think the DC animated features are low risk, then these shorts are even less of a risk. So you can really do whatever the hell you want with these movies. It's awesome.
I just love that it's, again, storytelling in a more graphic and mature way. It's just such, you know, you don't expect people get shot in the head. You don't expect to see, you know, the Batman guy get smashed on the ground. You know, it's a cool way of storytelling. And, you know, given that I'm so used to Batman Beyond and, you know, how relatively tame that can be, it's so refreshing to see, you know, things like this that can kind of cross that line a little more.
No, absolutely. And especially, I think some of the features, they try really hard to do that just for the sake of doing it, where I think the shorts completely succeed in doing it and elevating the content.
Swamp Thing, the last thing we're going to talk about. A very dark horror story in the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing.